Buddy, welcome to Movie Chatter. Tonight we are going to be discussing the latest Disney film based on one of their theme park rides, which have been very hit or miss, and that is Jungle Cruise. We had some good ones like Pirates of the Caribbean. We had some bad ones like Haunted Mansion, and we are going to talk about whether or not this one holds up or not. We do need to mention, though, real quick, we never did our Gunpowder Milkshake review, so I think I think we need to get into that too. But Robin, you look like you're physically in pain.
Did I know that? Did I sleep through another Movie Chatter meeting?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Did you not know we're doing Jungle Cruise today?
Did not.
You were the one who texted. Hold on. I can probably share.
Oh my God. It's been such a week.
I can probably share the messages out. Let's see here.
Believe you. I totally believe you. There's a mud trooper in my text stream. I don't know. I blame the mud trooper.
I said Jungle Cruise is really good. You said really? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Let's cover it. Covering it.
How about the one that says, "Are we covering Gunpowder Milkshake?" And Lou saying, "I'm good with that."
I'm go to that.
I don't remember that one at all.
You know, we have a drug policy here on the network.
It's okay.
Just saying. All right.
I'm good.
Well, you know what? What we're going to do is we're actually going to talk a little bit about both. I think maybe we can get the Gunpowder Milkshake one out of the way faster, or should we go with Jungle Cruise because it's the bigger release? What do you guys think?
I say Gunpowder Milkshake first because you're right. I think we can do it faster.
Like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Faster.
Yeah. I think it'll be like a 5 minute
whatever
thing. So bear with us. Okay. I know you guys came here for Jungle Cruise. We're definitely talking about that. But real quick, Gunpowder Milkshake. This was on what, Netflix or Amazon Prime? Which one? I forget now.
Yes. Prime.
Okay. I kind of try to put it out of my head. Hey, Tom in the chat room.
Stop.
Good evening. Yeah, it was less than good. So here's the problem, Robin. You hopped into our little iMessages group and you said, "Oh my gosh, this thing is amazing." We're like, "Really?" And you're like, "Amazing, amazing." And we're like, "Oh, wow, I guess we should drop what we're doing and watch it." You kind of nudged that bar like all the way up to the ceiling there, Robin.
Yeah. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
Can I just tell you why?
Absolutely.
Really
That's
quick.
why you're here.
First of all, I feel like it was a feel-good movie. I feel like it was a very well done feel-good movie with a female cast. And I am not usually erring on the side of that perspective, but with a female cast that was very, very strong. And it wasn't, from my perspective, overacted. I felt like it delivered what it promised, period. It isn't the best film I have ever seen in my entire life. It wasn't Cannibal the Musical.
No, it wasn't that good. You're right. Go on.
I feel like, if it's a rainy Saturday afternoon and this is on, you need to watch it. I've watched it twice now. And while, I'm a little
so sorry.
I know.
bored.
It must have been raining hard.
Like
I will.
Michelle Yeoh
Michelle
delivered
Yeoh,
a great
absolutely.
performance. Lena Headey
Carla Gugino
delivered a great performance. Karen Gillan, Carla Gugino, just all of the actors
Pam
were
Grier?
just
Was it Pam Grier?
really good.
Yeah.
I will never watch this movie again.
Wait, Robin,
Angela
Robin,
Bassett.
but wait. Hey, Lou, who is, if not your number one Hollywood crush, at least way up at the top of the list?
Michelle Yeoh.
Karen.
Top of the list.
Karen.
Yeah, we'll get Karen Gillan.
Right. You would say like she's way up at the top of the list. Like you would.
She's up there.
Yeah. You would watch something just because she's in it, right?
That's why I wanted to see this movie. That's what first put this on my radar.
How many more times would you watch this?
Oh, stop.
Even with Karen?
Zero. Yeah.
Right into the mic there.
I will watch
Zero.
anything Kenneth Branagh's in, even if it's bad.
Okay.
Clearly don't like her as much as you think.
I want to. Oh, go ahead, Lou. Yeah.
No. Go ahead. That's fine.
So we talked a little bit about this on Random Chatter and our weekend, what we've been watching episode. And my thing is, there are a lot of movies that are good action movies like John Wick, and it's, you know, it stretches the boundaries of what could actually happen, but it kind of works within real world physics to some extent, right? And then you get some that are a little bit outside of that and a little bit more like Michael Bay-ish. And then you get stuff that's really stylized, like when Zack Snyder did The Watchmen or Sucker Punch, or which also had Carla Gugino in it, or stuff like that. And that's okay because you can appreciate the artistry of it, and it works kind of within its own realm, okay? Its own rule set for that world building. And then you get movies that are just so ridiculously over the top, like Shoot 'Em Up or Smokin' Aces or something like that. And those I didn't like because they were just so over the top, and it was just all guns a-blazing and all that. But this, it was like it seemed to be that, but then just also failed to be an interesting version of that. And then Tim said, well, Eric, have you ever heard of a little something called suspension of disbelief? And I said, yes, Tim, but when I have to lobotomize myself to get there?
All right. Well, now, wait a minute. No one in this film used a... I love John Wick. I love Keanu Reeves in John Wick.
Yep.
But no one here used a pencil. And
I kind of wanted to use a pencil on myself.
And here's the thing. I think that maybe I was ready to just be taken on a journey. And this gave me those feel good, like mother-daughter moments, female ally moments that maybe I needed, without it focusing so much on there that I got bored. So,
okay.
And I mean, you're right. This is clearly not the best movie that was ever made. But we've watched a lot of movies lately where I'm just like, oh, we're repeating the same tropes. And yes, here we repeated a lot of tropes.
You're right.
We just put them together in a different Rubik's Cube, which I appreciated. And Lou didn't, but I want to hear why not. Lou?
You're up.
It's hard to put it into words. It just, right from the get-go, it didn't work for me. It was like it was a movie that was trying to be something that it wasn't. It felt like a cheap ripoff of John Wick that didn't work nearly as well. We had the assassin thing going on. We had, let's do a library instead of the Continental Hotel, and let's they tried to do all these things that were like John Wick but didn't do them as well. And it frustrated me. It was like, I mean, I liked the concept. I liked how her backstory was, and she was left in a diner and so forth. And the diner made no sense to me. That seemed like a really weird thing of I forget what the line was that the waitress would ask.
You can't bring guns into the diner, but they didn't bother to make the windows bulletproof.
Are you carrying something? Are you light or something?
Can I make you lighter or something like that? Whatever it was.
Can I make you lighter?
Can I lighten your load?
Lighten your load.
And none of that just seemed. It seemed very kitschy, I guess you'd say. It seemed too cutesy to me to make it worthwhile, especially after knowing we've seen 3 John Wick movies now and how it's been amazing, and it's just
those weren't corny. But even something like, I would argue Sucker Punch had some really corny moments in it too, but it also took place in a mental institution. And the really creative out there parts were things going on inside the character's head. In this one, here's the 3 things that broke the movie for me. Number 1, the hospital. There was nothing about anything that happened in that hospital that made any sense at all whatsoever. Yeah. And I'm sorry, even for what I did like of the movie, the hospital just outright dumb.
I agree with you.
Number 2, and I'm willing to set that aside. Number 2, the library was only marginally better because you're going to have a library in the middle of a city, and like all of the books have weapons inside of them, and like nobody's ever going to go into the library ever and want to look at books, and you know, some little 10-year-old girl's going to pull out a gun while their mom's over in the like bibliography section or something like that. And
nobody ever's normal is going to walk into the Continental Hotel and want a room.
But but so here's the thing, within that world, if somebody did, the guy at the front would say, I'm sorry, we're all booked up, and leave. There's nothing about that area of the hotel that would just like break reality. But this library would break reality. So that's the second thing. And the third thing, and maybe this is a nitpick. If you shoot someone in the arm with, you know, a localized anesthesia, it can make their arm numb. If it's going to travel outside of that limb, it's going to make their whole body numb. It's not, and now I don't have a medical degree, but my understanding of physiology from what college I did take on this, you can't just turn off this arm and just turn off this arm with one shot into only one of the two arms. And then you're just like flopping around for action scenes for a while. Like I get the fact that they were trying to do something campy and silly and different with the action scene, but like it was so like just not even how humans work that it broke it for me.
We saw that in Jurassic World something.
The Jurassic Park movie where you accidentally she was telling us before the show started, so her film students, she was going to bring in Jurassic Park, which by the way, the films that made us on Netflix, I think they have an episode in Jurassic Park that just came out this last week as part of their new season, so check it out. I haven't seen it yet. And you accidentally grabbed the wrong DVD.
I did. I grabbed Jurassic Park 3.
Wow.
But that's not the scene I'm thinking about. I was thinking about Fallen Kingdom, where his upper torso is paralyzed and he has to flop over to avoid the lava. Yeah, whatever.
I don't know that I saw that one. I think I'm glad I didn't. Anyhow, we don't want to spend too much time on Gunpowder Milkshake, but to be fair, Robin, Lou and I did kind of give our thoughts on Random Chatter. And we did say, even though we're going to cover Jungle Cruise, it would be unfair to Robin to not be able to get the last word in on it, because you seemed really excited about it. And I agree. It's just kind of a popcorn, you know, light fare kind of movie. But
so let's give its due. So I am going to show my ignorance here. It was directed by, and someone's going to correct me on this pronunciation, Navot Papushudo.
Lou, you want to take that one?
Sure.
No, I'm good.
Lou says you're good.
Right on.
Lou's our resident linguist. So,
an Israeli film director. So we got that, written by the same, and you know, that he was able to pull together this amazing cast. And in terms of the cast dynamics, the actors made it happen for me, except for Angela Bassett. Not my favorite performance.
Why did I say Pam Grier? Angela Bassett. Yes, I'm sorry. Ugh, I feel like an idiot now.
And that would be the only actor that I would replace. Otherwise, I do think that...
No, I'm going to argue it was the writing for her character, though. I think they wrote her too heavy-handed. I don't know that I can blame Angela Bassett for that. I don't know. Maybe. Right. I'd have to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, she was given a script and she acted it. I thought she was okay, but, you know, I don't know. I mean... Overall, was it a fun movie to have mindless fun with? Sure.
No.
I was hoping for a lot more. I was hoping for a more, you know, based in reality kind of movie, but it wasn't. Based in
reality. Our audio listeners did not see how vigorously I shook my head back and forth when you said, "Was it a fun movie?" No, it was.
I thought Eric was having a seizure.
I think I might have hurt my neck just now. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on to Jungle Cruise. So.
Sure.
I got to say, I'll start out on this one. And what we're going to do, as we always do, we're going to just kind of go around, give our non-spoiler, in a nutshell, thoughts on our review of it, whether or not we'd recommend it. And then as we get into analyzing it a little bit more and breaking things down, then we'll get into spoilers. Okay, so you're spoiler-free for now. But once we start really getting into the plot and stuff, after we kind of go around the table here, then if you're worried about spoilers, tread with caution. We're still going to try to not really like destroy the ending of the movie or anything. So, even then.
So I have a confession. I have not seen the last 15 minutes of the movie, so he can't spoil the very ending.
So Lou will not be spoiling it.
Oh.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right. So,
Yes.
Robin, you and I are going to have to talk very carefully. We're going to have to be very creative in how we talk around some of the issues, because there are some points in that last 15 minutes of the movie that I think make the movie better.
Weren't telegraphed completely.
I saw the trailers for this movie, and I'll go first this time around. I was not sold on this movie. And then the next trailer came out, and I said, nope. And then the third trailer came out, and I said, there won't be anything else on, so I guess. And I got to say, I was wrong. I liked the movie. The movie was far better, in my opinion, than the trailers gave us any reason to believe it should be. I thought it was going to be cheesy and poorly written, and it was just going to be another vehicle for The Rock to do an action movie. And, hey, you've got a built-in name with the Disney attraction, and there you go. And that was it. I was surprised, and I'll leave my review at that. So, Lou, you've seen it most recently and did not finish it. What do you think so far?
I'm 90% of the way through the movie. I've got the last 15 minutes to go, and I'm pleasantly surprised. I mean, I was never saying, "Oh, I gotta watch it." It was like, "Oh my God, I can't wait for this to come out. I'm gonna buy it. I can't wait to see it." But I kind of figured it was going to be a fun ride. I mean, I like The Rock doing comedy. I like The Rock doing some of his stuff. He's growing on me as an actor, I think. So it's been good for me to see him in there. And I like Emily Blunt. I mean, she does a good job. And I started watching this in the first, 15 minutes or so before you get the actual credits coming up. I was like, okay, I'm all in.
Yeah.
This movie.
It opened strong.
The opening sequences, the two opening sequences set the bar really high. And I had a good time with it. I had a good time with The Rock's delivery of his dad jokes, we'll say, when he's doing the Jungle Cruise. I thought it was great, and the reactions of him and the interaction with the other people on the boat were good. And I was like, okay, it looks like Disney's doing a pretty good job with this. I'm all in to check this out and see the rest of the movie.
Yeah. I want to throw this in real quick for those who haven't seen the movie yet and might duck out when we do get to spoilers. Disney Plus just released a 5-episode series called Behind the Attractions. The first one covers the making of the Jungle Cruise ride. One of the people that's interviewed for it is The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. And it's a great series. I'd watch all 5 if I were you, but they get into the making of the ride, changes they've made to the ride, et cetera. And one of the things they pointed out, in order to inject some humor into it, the staff members on the boat with the little megaphone, the microphone PA system thing, giving the tour, they get a script. They get some variations on it, and they can kind of choose which jokes they're going to say at which different points. But all those dad jokes and stuff, those are actually requirements, and they're not allowed to deviate from the selected scripts. And so a lot of the details in the movie harken back to the actual ride itself. If you don't know that, it's not going to ruin anything. Like, it's not going to stick out and break anything in the movie, because they work it into the story really well. But if you are familiar with the ride, those references in the movie actually work, and they provide more than mere fan service. So I would watch that before you watch this movie. Oh, by the way, you know DJ Elliott, aka DJ Lobot, etc. He used to be one of the quote cruise directors on the Jungle Cruise down in Orlando.
Cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I actually saw some video like a couple years ago on YouTube of him doing those. It's kind of cool. But anyway, so Robin, I think you saw it before any of the three of us, because you seemed very, very excited when I hopped into our chat group and said, it didn't really suck.
So here's the thing. I have to give props to this director, and big props. And here's why. He got what he needed out of his actors. He worked with he produced a family friendly and family with a capital F, friendly with a capital F movie that none of us would be afraid to watch with a toddler, right on up. And it was entertaining for the adults. And one of the things that I liked about him was he borrowed from one of my favorite directors, Akira Kurosawa, this notion of this repetitive either phrase for characters or action or body movement for characters. And so you heard the repetitive names that characters called each other, and that immediately endears a watcher. Like, it makes you a part of the clan. Like, you're on the inside, you get the in joke. He calls her pants. You get why he's doing that, right? And while it was a hit you over the head moment a few times, there were also some subtle places where it just sort of rolled off their tongues where you were like, yes, that's what my sister used to call, like, right? It was like one of those moments where you were just like, you felt like you were a part of this little screen family. And that's what good directors do. And I really appreciated that with this. And like I said, Akira Kurosawa did it a little more subtly, but I'm gonna butcher this name too. Jaume Colette Serra.
Okay.
That's a total butchering of the director's name. Clearly picked up on this as a way to bring a watcher into the actual script. And that was the most fun for me, and I found myself, sort of giggling every time they used these little catchphrases for each other.
I would agree with that. I think the directing in this was spot on. Also props to Michael Green, Glenn Ficarra, and John Requa, who were the screenplay writers. Because I think the writing was really good too. I mean, it's definitely the director, but I think it's also definitely the writers. I think that the story for this, you were talking about the fact that it's a family-friendly movie with capital Fs. Normally when we get that, they get watered down so much that the adults, like, you can enjoy them, but it's like you have to inject little moments for the adults for the grown-ups to be able to get something out of it. And this wasn't all the way across the board. I think that this really felt like I could enjoy it without it being for kids. Kids could enjoy it without it being for grown-ups. It was very much like the whole package across the board.
Well, you got to remember, though, it was one step away from an R-rated movie because it's PG-13. So I wouldn't say it's totally totally family friendly, because
that's true. And you said toddlers. I kind of like paused for a moment. I think that there were some of the scenes with the special effects, and I won't spoil it, but like the bad guys and how they kind of come back toward the end of the film, where maybe it was a little bit, it could have been a little bit too creepy for some of the little kids.
Maybe.
I mean, most of it wasn't. Most of it was like Robin said, very family friendly, but a few spots were more mature. I will say this: my ex-wife and I are pretty careful about what my son doesn't get to watch. I would have no problems with him watching this. He's 12, so and I would say even back when he was 10, I would have been okay with him watching it. I think that there are some more intense moments, but I don't think it's anything that. I don't know. I'm a little surprised, honestly, that it was a PG-13. If I had to rate it, honestly,
maybe if there's intense moments, they weren't dwelled upon. Is that the proper grammar I'm looking for here? They weren't gratuitous. There was no blood that I could find, and so it was maybe across the road. Maybe PG-13 was a little because there were suggestive parts of it, but our two primary, we had three primary actors, were just see, I love Emily Blunt. I just think that woman walks on water, And and I am a huge fan of Dwayne Johnson. I think he has perfected his persona to the extent that I think at this point he could star in anything. I do think he.
Yeah, I think he's a very accomplished actor. I really think he's surpassed what I think we all thought he was going to be when he first hit the scene.
Yeah.
I mean, his first movie was what was that?
First one?
The Mummy, or no?
Scorpion King.
Scorpion King. Yeah. And it was like, okay, that's what we're going to get. I'm not going to see anything he does ever.
I'm glad I didn't watch that one.
He's progressed.
No, he's legit. He's
just the trailer pushed me off.
Yeah. And I also want to give a shout out too to Jake Whitehall, who played the brother McGregor. When the characters first got introduced. So Lou, I'm with you. The opening scene with Lily, Emily Blunt's character. Now, by the way, we're starting to get into spoilers. You still have a few minutes. We're still talking about stuff early in the movie, so don't sweat it. But I guess you could count this as a spoiler warning. So her opening scene, really good. And I thought, okay, like that character. Not so much her brother yet, but it wasn't really about her brother in that scene. Then we get The Rock. Frank Wolf. I liked his character. I wasn't expecting to. Honestly, he was what I was dreading more in the movie than anything else. All due respect to The Rock, I just didn't imagine it was going to be written very well to take advantage of anything other than big muscles and action and blah, blah, blah. And still not liking the brother. But then as the movie went along, McGregor's character had some depth to him, and he wasn't just this fifth wheel or this third character. He was a meaningful character with development. I mean, he was solid. He wasn't just cardboard. Like I was worried it appeared he was going to have been early on in the film and just merely there for comic relief. It was more than that.
Well, because we had seen that already in The Mummy, right? We saw the third wheel brother character already in The Mummy, and in so many ways, this film, as others, right, followed that same, not only pacing, but that same sort of fantastical storyline as the Mummy movies. Right. And so we were sort of primed for that. And I think you're right. I also think that the director allowed each character to emerge, not only per the script, but per their relationship to each other.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, the kitty, fantastic.
Yeah.
Makes me want to have cats, Lou.
Oh, you cat people. So you brought up The Mummy. I do want to point out there are a lot of movies that have a similar tone, and you can definitely tell that they influenced this film, but I don't think this was a ripoff of any of them. And I'm really happy for that too. So The Mummy is one of them. I would say there are some Indiana Jones elements, some Pirates of the Caribbean elements.
Sure.
And now I'm going to get this one wrong. Something about Queen of something, Queen of the Nile or African Queen or...
No. Well, all right. African Queen.
There was some old movie about a boat going down the river. Mm-hmm. Was it the African Queen?
Bogart Bacall, African Queen.
Because the ride itself was inspired by that too.
African Queen.
When Walt Disney created it for the opening of the theme park. So it harkened back to a ride, which harkened back to that movie. And so like the look of the boat, the look of, I guess, some of the costumes or something. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the African Queen, and yes, I saw those. But that's a good director making something strange familiar, right? You take those umami elements, right, from your favorite films, and you infuse them. That's why I believe Kenneth Branagh will be, one of the great directors, because he does that. Mm-hmm. He's got this historical depth and breadth to him that he can bring to the moment. And I'm really hoping that as Disney matures, we get bigger, more mature movies like this.
You must have liked this movie because Kenneth Branagh had nothing to do with this movie, and you've mentioned him like 3 times in this movie review. So you making that association.
The director makes me... because there was lavishness to the
Uh-huh.
set. You know, even though it was in these neutral tones, there was these textures. There was, you know, the metal of the submarine versus the natural textures of everybody else in the movie.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, there was just this lavishness to the sets that reminds me of a Brana type of set.
I can see that.
I couldn't say enough about this movie. It was really fantastic.
And I like the fact that in paying homage to all those different things, it didn't copy any of those things.
Right.
Right.
Even if when it got close, it did something completely unique with it. And I also like, so let's talk about the story. I was not expecting there to be a story that was going to be at all interesting. And I didn't think the pacing was going to be very good. I didn't think the action scenes were likely to contribute to the storytelling. I'm at the point now where a lot of times if I'm watching a movie at home and an action scene breaks out, like that's the first time I feel compelled to break out my phone. I've seen it all before. Unless it assists with the storytelling. And in this movie, I felt like all the action scenes contributed something to the story itself. A story that had some depth to it, wasn't predictable, like I was fully convinced it would be, and did something different that we haven't seen a bunch of other times, had solid pacing all the way through, carried the plot while also developing the characters. And a lot of times with this story, you get one or the other, or you flip-flop back and forth a lot. And in this, they managed to meld the two during most of the moments along the way. If you pick out any given moment, you'll get some that's just plot and some that's just character. But for the most part, the quantity of scenes where you got both simultaneously, higher than a lot of other movies like this. You know, the more I'm thinking about this movie, the more I'm realizing how good it is. Like, I didn't really think that hard about it while I was watching it. But like now that we're discussing it.
Well, and it has a nice twist that was not telegraphed.
Lou, did you get to the twist yet?
Alluded to?
Okay, so we're not going to talk in too much detail about the twist.
You mean the twist about the main character?
One of the main characters, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, you know, for the sake of people who maybe haven't seen it yet, we'll try to tread lightly here. But yeah, it did have a really good twist.
It did. And it was a twist that fit. It was a twist that I just sort of tilted my head and went, oh, yeah, okay. Right. So it was alluded to, but not telegraphed. It was very nicely introduced.
The one thing I didn't like about the twist was that the relationship between Lily and Frank changed dramatically
after that.
Yeah, and it seemed very abrupt.
But
it was like, okay, why all of a sudden is she? Oh, okay, I'll go with it. But
so to be fair, like I can't say too much more, but you haven't finished.
Yeah,
I'm really curious as to. I want to hear your follow up on that after you finish. Like maybe we'll even come back in the next episode we do. At the end, we'll come back and revisit this because that's a really good point. It does change that, but I think that was intentional. I think they wanted that moment of tension and strife with that because they kind of build the tension between the characters for a while and kind of move them towards something, and then it falls apart. And the question is, can it be repaired? Will it be stronger if it does? Will it get repaired but not quite be the same? Will it, it could go off in any one of 5 different directions, let alone 2. So what's going to happen?
But it was also congruent with who the characters presented themselves as.
Yes.
So Lou, what you will see is it actually deepened a spark of a relationship that we saw could be a potential. Which is so many human relationships are like that, right? You walk down one path in your mind about someone, and then all of a sudden, yes, Lou, and all of a sudden you realize this little detail about them that makes you appreciate them all that much more. So, and I think it fit, and I love the way it was done, and And yeah, I guess we'll leave it at that. But I also love how the brother's backstory presented itself.
Yes.
Right. It was brought on very naturally. We needed a little bit of a backstory about the brother to connect him. Like, otherwise, is he a brother? Is he a good friend? Like, how does he fit? Like, and then all of a sudden we were very solid in why this woman was so connected to this man, and why this man was so connected to Lily.
The family backstory. I mean, you had her, you had her brother, and then so each of them separately, but then also kind of as a family unit together. There's some combined backstory there, and there were so many opportunities to turn him into a trope, and they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And they gave him legitimate depth. Character-wise, maybe the biggest surprise for me in the film, though, again, I expected The Rock to be, not for his fault, but because I think he just gets thrown into roles like this, kind of cookie cutter, and he wasn't. So we should probably start to wrap up soon. We're at about 35 minutes, but and we are going to come back and give our opinions about whether or not it's worth the $30 to pay for the Disney Plus Premium, or whether it's worth paying to go out in theaters, though I'm thinking that even that discussion is starting to go away again now with the Delta variant. But, you know, either way, is it worth paying the money for, or should you wait until it comes to the inclusion with your normal subscription or not? But before we get to that, are there any other points that we want to get to that maybe we haven't discussed yet? Robin, can you think of anything?
You know what, the backstory of the native or indigenous folks there was again treated and mistreated as we expected. I don't want to leave that go.
Okay.
I still think there's a lot of movement we need to make on treatment of indigenous cultures, but I'm hopeful that as a culture we will stop stereotyping so much. I saw a little bit of movement there, but not.
I will say this on that point. I think that I do appreciate the fact that those stereotypes were there, and then when the curtain came down, it was discovered that those stereotypes were being played up for the sake of spectators and tourists, and that those weren't those real people. And we got to see, no, there are real people, and the people who interact with those real people know that those are real people, and this whole other thing is a sham. And that stereotype, those expectations that people, especially back in that time period, assumed about indigenous peoples, the whole thing was a sham. It was ridiculous. This is the real. And so I agree with you, but I think, and especially in light of Disney as a company, Disney's history with some of those types of things in their rides, I do kind of like the fact that they kind of confronted that a little bit. And they said, you know, hey, you know, that there's that presentation, and then here's this over here. This is the real.
Well,
it's a step.
And it came from me in a single line, and the single line can be sort of glossed over by a casual watcher, but the single line was delivered by The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, when he says, "Go save your family." And that to me was like a turn that I needed Disney and the director to take.
Okay. Yeah. I am surprised on so many different levels. It's not just one thing about this movie that surprised me. It's many, many different things. This is not one of my favorite movies. I'll rewatch it. And I'll recommend it to people, but you know, I don't want to say this is like one of my top 10 films ever or anything, but I will say this is one of the most surprising movies I've seen in a long time, because when you really look at it, and you look at it closely, and you don't need to look at it closely, it's just a fun ride. No pun intended. But if you do look at it there are multiple layers going on here, and there are a lot of things that you would not expect to see in this film being handled well and with good craftsmanship. Agreed. And yet they were handled with good craftsmanship, and it turned out really well. I mean, this was so much better than I thought it could be, let alone what I thought we were going to get from it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Robin, worth the $30? Worth waiting? What do you think?
Actually, I would have preferred to see it in a theater, but I won't go to theaters.
I think I would have
right
too.
now.
And yeah, I think I'm back with you on that now again.
Yeah. And so, it'll be one of those around here. We have the flashback Sundays, where they show like Back to the Future on the big screen. Mm-hmm. And so when we have that again in, I don't know, 30 years, I will go and see this on the big screen, and I might even watch it again on a rainy Saturday afternoon.
I have a situation where I'm located, in part because it's very rural, where we have theaters where on certain nights of the week, it's dead. Like I can go see a movie and I can literally be the only person in the theater. Or there might be one other person on the far side of the theater. And you can also see, because it's all pre-assigned seating, you can see exactly where in the theater they're sitting. I think for me, for now, that might mitigate the risk a little bit that I would have to look at it on a case-by-case basis. As soon as that changes, even a little bit, I'm out. Like it's just not worth it anymore for me. I will say that I think this is solidly worth the $30 for the premium. I know everybody went in to see Black Widow. I would argue that if you take apart and strip away all the different individual elements of this movie and compare it to individual elements of Black Widow, this is at least as good, if not better. And I know that a lot of people might not enjoy it as much as Black Widow because they're Marvel fans and that's a franchise that they've already invested in, etc. I think this is a better quality movie. I think.
I can see that.
At least, if not, at least there's a really strong argument for it, I think. So, in my opinion, I would have a really hard time saying that Black Widow is worth the $30 and this isn't. I think this is definitely, like, it's not going to be a waste of your money. Will you like it or not? I don't know, but I don't think you're going to think it's a waste. I think it's a good bet. Lou, so far, you haven't finished it yet, but so far, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to take the opposite stance from you guys. I'm going to say it's not worth the $30 to go in, primarily because for me, Black Widow was because it's a value. If you're going to go with somebody else and pay for 2 tickets, you might as well just pay the $30 and see it at home.
Sure.
Type thing. If you don't want to go to a theater, this one here, I don't have that same need to see it as quickly. I mean, we saw it quickly because we wanted to review it for the podcast. Right. But could I wait 3 months to see this movie? Sure. I mean, there's nothing pressing to say, oh my God, I got to see this. I got to be up on what's going on with this. It's part of the universe that I'm invested in. So for me, I would say wait till it's on Disney proper where you don't have to pay the $30. Right.
Which
that's probably going to be three months away.
I think it's going to be like mid to late October, if I recall correctly. Yeah. So, which is in time for Halloween, and there's a little bit of a, creepiness factor to it.
But the same rule stands. If you're going to see it with your wife, your spouse, or a couple kids with you too, hey, it's worth it. It's cheaper to do it at home for the $30. But if you don't need to see it right away, wait and save your money.
When we talk about movies that are theater movies versus home movies, I would say I feel like this is definitely a strong theater movie. This is one of those where I regret not getting to see it in a theater.
This would be better on a big screen, right?
It would.
I think so.
But that being said, to your point, Lou, I think that there's nothing coming out right now. So, and there's nothing coming out in October. So I'm anxious to see anything right now. I'm desperate. I'm going to be desperate in October too. So I'm going to be thrilled to see it right now. Or if you wait until October, you can be thrilled to see it then, because there ain't nothing coming out in October either. Excuse my bad grammar, but ain't nothing happening in October either. So, and arguably there'll be less the weather's changing, getting outside and stuff, maybe less so. So you're going to be inside more often, going to want movies to watch. I don't know. Yeah, maybe hang out and wait until October. But I would say if you're on the fence and you decide to drop the $30, you're going to be fine. I don't think there's a wrong decision here. I guess that's maybe a better way to put it. I don't think you're going to go wrong by spending the $30. And if you wait, you're still going to get to see it in the long run. So.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Movie Chatter. We have not yet chosen what our next movie is, but I have some ideas. We'll talk about that offline so we're not holding you guys up here. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Go to randomchatter.com/YouTube. Hit that little subscribe and like button down below. And there's also a little button with a bell on it that will give you notifications when we have new shows that either go live or get posted after the fact. Also, if you want a nifty Random Chatter t-shirt like this, our audio listeners can't see it, but head over to randomchatter.com/store. Oh yeah, Lou's got one too. We match.
My movie chatter one hasn't been delivered yet.
We do have movie chatter ones.
sad.
I don't own one yet, and I need to get one. And the next time we release a new shirt, everything in the store goes on sale for 33% off. So I'm going to have to grab that.
Well, that's how I got a brand new movie chatter hoodie because I sport
nice.
every time I get a chance to.
Yeah.
So, Eric, I don't know, Lou, should we kick him off the show until he gets his? I don't know.
Oh,
maybe.
Well, I tell you what, if you get your little video production studio set up there, then go for it.
Yeah, we have some work to do before we can do that.
Yeah,
never mind.
Once we get that other side project up and running, which I don't want to call a side project because to me it's going to be like a major focus project.
We got to get it.
We got it. All we have to do is sit down and meet. We got a list of stuff. We just have to choose which episodes in which order and confirm the name. And I think we maybe already have kind of a logo idea and things like that. So we just got to meet up. But once we do that, we will have a logo for that too. And then 33% off again. But even without the 33% off, these are good quality t-shirts. I like these. Lou, you and I have talked before. I'm not trying to make this into a commercial, guys. I'm sorry. But you and I have been to conventions. I remember going to, I won't mention the convention here, but into the store of the convention, I was really excited about some of the t-shirt designs. And as soon as I touched them, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could wash this twice and it would disintegrate.
Yeah.
And this I wash and wear all the time, like to work and stuff.
I'm
it
a
holds
bit of
up
a
really well.
t-shirt snob. I like heavy quality, good t-shirts, and these are.
Yeah, these are good. These are like name brands like Hanes. And I think there's one other name brand that they use there too, depending on which type you want. Anyway, good stuff. randomchatter.com/store. And then finally, if you want to hang out with us in Discord, we are on the Escape Hatch Discord server. So go to randomchatter.com/escape hatch, and that will get you an invite link. That's going to do it for this episode of Movie Chatter. Be sure to tune in Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And that's when we're going to be doing Force Chatter. And I think we may actually have a little bit of Star Wars news now. Won't spoil it here, but we're going to have a couple of topics for once. It's been slow for Star Wars news, but we also have Random Chatter where we review what we've seen for the week, cover the latest entertainment news and commentary. So be sure to check that out. And that's going to do it. Until next time,